Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back. It's take one. Let's hope we do it.
I think we will, because again, this is nothing that's really exposing the system. This is going up on Heart's Home. These are just little nuggets from the guides, really. Just nuggets from the guides, and love to share this stuff.
You know, it is nice because a lot of times we go in for a little bit of a afternoon meditation and sometimes cool stuff comes up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Why are we looking at sperm and an egg? Well, just like some realizations that come in meditation. And some of this stuff you guys might have figured out like eons ago and might be like, duh. But some of this might be stuff that you just never even really would think of. Like, why would you think of things like this? Well, again, if you're trying to conceive and have a youngin', you might be thinking about sperm count and egg fertility and all the like. Isn't nature amazing? It really is. We, again, live in a fractal universe. As above, so below, as within, so without. We see the microcosm in the macrocosm and the macrocosm in the microcosm. Everything points to everything else.
It does. And as above, so below. And I always hit these epiphanies with as above, so below all over the place. It's like this never-ending game that I kind of like to play. I see stuff in the 3D and I'm able to relate it up to a higher level. It's interesting.
It is, and sometimes I think I look at my wife in a way that makes her almost blush, even though we know each other so well. And it's not about trying to have kids, because we are most definitely done with that.
Yes, we're done.
Yeah, there's 7 between the two of us. So, yeah, absolutely. So why are we, again, looking at this? Well, you might look at the sperm and you might say, well, they look like tadpoles. And of course, eventually a tadpole will turn into a frog, or again, we see fish, and we see the same sort of rudimentary system in nature. And how many people have looked at a sperm, for instance, and said to themselves, well, simply it's still being represented by the skull and the spinal cord. Because in a sense, in a way, yeah, this is the sperm. It's the end result, because again, gosh, all the information is going up and down through the spine. Again, isn't it really curious? There's 33 vertebrae in the human spine. Again, all the symbolism that we see, it just goes on forever. It really does go on forever. And we have done videos on the Hermetic principles. We have done videos going into Kabbalah. We were doing some work today, and we had to drive like 3 hours. So, we had time to listen to some stuff. So I was doing a little binge listening to some dissertations on some of the pseudepigraphal and non-canonical works that didn't ever get into the Bible and their significance. And again, it just hits me that so many people don't understand so much of what maybe I take for granted. And again, if you are having work done on a house, and or maybe you're going to have a house constructed and you don't know anything about carpentry and construction, and maybe you're at that stage where you're putting out blueprints and stuff, and you don't know where to start because you just haven't spent your time doing that. Now, you might be an expert at something else. There's other things that you might know inside and out, but you just never have really spent time looking down a certain way, down a certain avenue or a road. So you go ahead and immerse yourself and maybe do a little reading so you can talk logically with the quote-unquote experts. But again, what you come to often is the case is you find the experts don't know. Or the experts disagree. And this is the case with the early church because they had very, very different opinions on things. But there's always those that will look at things literally, and there's always those that will take things from an esoteric standpoint and see the bigger picture, not get caught up in the minutia. Too often we get caught up in the minutia and we're arguing over little things. Again, you could think of NASA with $500 hammers and gosh, $50 nails. Yeah, we get too caught up in the little things that we miss the bigger picture. That, this matrix that we're in is amazing. It really is amazing. And we should have our jaw drop when we really look at the intricacy of how things were put together. And again, we might go and take all that credit for how this matrix was put together and, of course, give it to some deity that we might visualize in a totally different way from somebody else's interpretation of that deity. But we don't realize that we are part of all this. And in fact, you spend a lot of time creating this reality. Nobody spends more time creating the reality of your life than you before you get here.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. We spend a lot of time creating this, and we spend a lot of time creating it while we're here. We are creative beings. Everywhere we turn, everywhere we look, whatever we're doing in life, whether it be a book, reading a book, whether it be trimming a tree, we are creating this world around us. And guess what? It's all for you. It's all just for you. You created this world around you. Ultimately, we're all one, but we're all individual from the same puddle. Looking at this earth is so tiny compared to the cosmos. It is just like a little puddle. And one of our family members sent me a little video which showed what looked to be a flashlight or a light, going across the face of the earth. And I thought, well, maybe that's how ants see us when we're outside at night with a flashlight. We don't know how big of an entity is out there. And if it is some sort of a flashlight going across the face of the earth, we just don't know because we can't perceive. But there's a lot of little things that we get to put together that are fun.
So, take credit because you are an amazing being. You made it here. And when we're looking at anybody's skull and spinal cord, in effect, you could think about it. How many sperm are trying to get into that egg? How many spirits want to incarnate at a particular time? And incarnating, it might not seem it, but it is. It's a blessing. Because, again, if you could really take the time, I'm going to digress a second, take the time to get yourself used to writing down your dreams. If you're not doing it already, those that are, congratulations, that's awesome. Because I remember every single dream. And I'll remember every single dream often days and weeks, sometimes months and even years later. It's fascinating to be able to recollect it. And one realization is that I am me in the dreams, but I'm not always Mike the Evolutionary YouTube guy. I'm a bigger version of me in the dreams sometimes. And sometimes that me contains information that this Mike doesn't have easy access to. And there's so much more going on with our consciousness than most can understand. But going back to this, congratulations, you're here. You were the lucky one out of all those sperm trying to get to that egg at that particular point in time, because that would allow the soul to come into this matrix at just the right time to make its mission and to have the best chance at being successful at the mission that soul wanted to do. You did it. You did it. And, again, congratulations are in order. And this is about as scary as we're going to go on Heart's Ohm. If you guys remember the Predator movie, what did Predator take for a trophy? Well, it took the head and spinal cord. Because, again, that's the essence of the individual in a sense. In a sense, it is the sperm, and again, the egg is well, again, Mother Nature is the canvas, and again, Spirit is the paint, and we create this reality. So again, this is showing there are those that will try to hijack our reality, will try to take control of our lives and utilize it for their means, whatever that mean is. And when you see the Ankh, you've had a lot of people try to say that the Ankh is basically a form of the cross, a different form of the cross, earlier form of the cross. It really literally is symbolizing life and also fertility. And so, Cindy just matter-of-factly starts sharing stuff from the guides with me, and I'm like, this is a video. We got to tell these guys this. I mean, here you go. You're just sharing this stuff. I haven't heard anybody talk about this ever.
Well, it's just this information. It's just always there, and it's floating around, and I never really think to talk about it. But Mike seems to pull it out of me. It's right there. But looking at the Ankh, it's so, what makes it so precious? What makes it so vital? What makes it so important? What makes it so someone can carry an Ankh? But when we're looking at the beginnings of the makings of a whole system, the Ankh was very important because those who had control over fertility had the Ankh. So, if you look at it, you can see it as several different things. It can look like a woman's womb, ovaries, and, the canal. You can look at it, if you can see it as a sperm. I mean, it has all kinds of symbology to it. But if you had the Ankh, you possessed the Ankh, that meant something. That meant that you were one who was able to grant fertility in a way, or bless a union so that someone could have children. So these were like creators of humankind.
And also those that guided. So, going back to some indigenous and shamanistic traditions, how about the tradition of just getting your marriage blessed? Well, there was so much more to that in the old days because, again, the elders led the tribes. The elders led because they had the wisdom, they had the knowledge, they had spent more time in this world and that incarnation. And one of the blessings that comes to us when we get older, if we are able to get into a more advanced age, is we start to make the change to getting ready to leave in the body. And, we're prepping to leave the body at some point in time. And as we get older, we're getting closer to that. And so we are getting closer to the spiritual side of things and the other, whatever you want to look at it, the other side, or the realization that, if you have a clear realization that, I'm heading off into the fourth density, and in order to regroup and figure out what I want to do next. But the wisdom of the elders was what really guided the tribe. And so they would bless the union. And if the union was a union that was not going to necessarily be a wise union, they would also let you know. And so it was something that you really wanted to have, was the blessing of the elders. And, the symbol of fertility, as the Ankh is also, is saying, yes, this is a good match. Because, again, they could see into the energy. When we're outside of the dark age, and even when we're in the dark age with a lot of people that are indigenous, they could see the energy body. And, I remember running to the eye doctor when I first started seeing the energy body in my early 20s. I was like 21, I want to say, 2021. And I started to notice, I could see the energy around trees, I could see the energy around people, and then I could actually start to see layers to it. I was in corporate meetings, bored stiff, 8-hour-long corporate meetings all day long, 8 to 10 hours. And I'm zoning out, and I'm looking at the energy body of our regional bosses. And I'm watching them, and I'm starting to get little glimpses of color. And, I wasn't even realizing what I was doing, but I was reading their energy. Well, the people that are very much in tune with the earth can do this. They could do this all the time, even in the darkest of dark ages, but everybody can do this. When we head deeper into the Bronze Age, and certainly in the Silver and the Golden Ages, So your elders will be able to see and know. They'll know if this is a good match, this is not a good match. And it's fascinating too, because again, this is the symbol of fertility. In the higher densities, unions are taken very seriously. They do not view them as trivial, and they understand when they're merging energies with somebody, it is a big deal. It's not a trivial thing. And again, this is how the system has turned everything upside down and inside out, making it focus towards things that it shouldn't be focused towards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the system that we have in place right now is not very respectful when it comes to bringing life into the world. And what does that mean? And what are the consequences of that? Both good and bad. It's just very, here you go, matter of fact right now. And I think we're going back to a time where it is going to be more sacred when it comes to life, and more thoughtful when it comes to bringing life into the world, but right now we're just in a place and looking at the controllers and how they have created this world. They've really created it with the idea that the life force just sort of wasted, just flippant, or be abused. And that's really sad when it comes to this world. The life force should be sacred. It's something that creates life, and we should have more control over the life that we choose to live. But we will all get there. It's just a matter of putting that in your mind and having the understanding that you want to live in a world, in a peaceful place. What kind of world do you want to live in? And start putting that in your mind, because that starts turning the wheels toward a time and a place that you will eventually end up. And I think we underestimate our so-called imagination, when it comes to visualizing. Visualizing is another huge thing. I mean, it is powerful. It was very powerful and known and understood in the Golden Age, Silver Age, and Bronze Age. We're starting to get that idea of understanding how important visualization is and how powerful it can be, because we're taking all those little particles and we're putting something together. We're making something with it, and it's going to show up in the 3D. A lot of people are able to see things, but they don't. I think it's more like they think they can't, but they really can. They're very, very gifted. So many people are so very gifted right now, but they don't understand, or they weren't taught how to use this energy, what to do with it. How do you utilize it in your 3D life? Because we're in a world where we're just basically, many of us are running businesses for the controller, and what do you do there? Well, you only taught to utilize what they need you to utilize, but we are very much we all have the ability to read different energies and understand and speak to the world around us, and we're headed back there.
Yes, thankfully we are on the ascending path, even though I know it doesn't look like it at this point in time. So when you see in these Egyptian motifs, these pictures, when you see these beings carrying this symbol, this means that they're very important people in the society that can bring the blessings of fertility and blessing unions, so to speak. And we do see Aset, Isis, carrying this often. And again, we've done a short and a long video to Aset, and we have a couple messages that we've done too, channeling Aset, as she's very close to us. And again, we actually first came to Earth with Aset and others from the Sirius star system during the Golden Age. So that was the first time we came to Earth before we actually incarnated here on Earth. And really, since we came here at that period in time, we've kept incarnating on Earth in order to keep the mission going and keep sharing with people. This, again, another depiction. As you can see, the Ankhs are everywhere. So is the all-seeing eye. So, again, we've talked about how the all-seeing eye can mean so many different things depending on who is using it. Yes. Again, these groups like the Illuminati and the like will use it, but again, it's also a reference to the pineal gland when it's fully functioning, because again, you could have your eyes closed and you can see absolutely clearly, and not just here, anywhere. You can just focus at any point in time, at any place, and you again can get impressions. And in time, and it depends on the age we're in, with practice, you can get clear pictures of what you need to know. It's part of, again, what happens in the different yugas. So we've been in the darkest of the dark ages, and that's only now starting to collapse. And again, we see how the whole system, they want to usurp everything that is natural. It's just so clear. When we see Aset, Isis, most of the world knows her as in this age, she is really, truly, at this point in time, part of a collective in sixth density. Part of a collective in sixth density. Yet she's always going to be her, too.
Mm-hmm. That one is, it is difficult to understand, but ultimately when beings start to come together and they start to understand that they are one, they can decide to create their own collective, and it just becomes clearer and clearer. That's not necessarily something for us to understand right now, because we came here to be separate. We came here to be individuals. Source wanted us to experience what Source is, so that's why we have the illusion that we are separate, and that's okay.
Absolutely. So again, you will see some in the future and even now that are trying to say that her and Osiris are actually from Nibiru and part of that whole Enki and Lil Marduk crowd, but that's not the case at all. Again, this is a being that came to us in the absolute golden age, that was bringing knowledge and wisdom to humanity and trying to again teach humanity its potential, and to really grow into that potential without forcing us to do anything. And so again, the pyramids were healing centers where people would be lined up and would come for individual healing and blessing. Again, blessings. She was known as the goddess of life, and with good cause, because again, she taught the ways of life, not death and destruction, not chaos. No, not at all. And that's a beautiful blessing. And these pyramids were used to keep the earth in a state of harmony and balance. And everything that we know, as we know, has been usurped by the system. When we look to Ouroboros, it was coming to me too, that again, this can be, as it is a symbol of eternity, it also you could easily look at this and see, again, a sperm represented, as you see the head and basically the spinal cord. And shoot, a snake is all spinal cord. And we do have two of them, by the way. Ouroboros, again, symbol of eternity. Well, life is eternal, because life is all about allowing spirit, that eternal aspect of us, the consciousness. That's what never goes away. We are consciousness, but we have different experiences. So when we look at the figure 8 on its side, and you can see Ouroboros depicted as that, again, it's also hearkening to the reality of eternal life in so many ways. Consciousness is eternal. And every incarnation is a blessing. So, this is just stuff I wanted to share with you guys, because I thought, oh, this is cool. And I wonder how many people have thought all these exact thoughts, and for how many would this be something unique and maybe enlightening.
Mm-hmm. And it is just fun when you can start understanding the matrix around you at a little bit of a deeper level and start putting some of these mysteries together. I kind of get tired of things being mysterious and things being hidden. Now's the time to start shining a light on the understanding of who we are and why we're here and how miraculous it is. If you have made it to Earth, oh my gosh, get your badge out. you have definitely earned it. It's not easy to incarnate here.
No, it's a challenge, but again, we take the experience is with us. You cannot take the gold, you can't take the silver, you can't take, really you can't take your body. Even when we ascend, we basically shed aspects of our body. We've talked about the rainbow body and how some monks, you'll find that their body is just shriveled up into a very small little thing that you could put in a little grocery bag. It's so small, weighs maybe a pound or a few ounces. Sometimes there's just hair and nails. Sometimes there's a flash, and it's all instantaneously gone, like as in human spontaneous combustion, but in the light that it's totally gone. So when we're looking at what is our destiny, and again, the whole concept of salvation, well, really all you got to do is just discover the self-realization is what we are after, because we've been given an amnesia, and then we've been given a collective idea in many cases that's not accurate. We are so much more than they tell us. And so if you do feel yourselves inspired, here's the prayer of awakening to Isis-Aset. And, I have it written right out there too, so you could read right along. And in Egyptian, it's beautiful. And we do have several messages and all. You can always just do the little search bar and put in Aset, Isis, and it'll take you straight to the videos with her in it if you do feel so inclined. As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.